So ladies and gentlemen, get some hype in the chat here for the top 4 maps. We are going live with the first round on Slalom, picked by Pack, who has currently set the fastest match time, only a few hundredths away from the world record, 2:06.6 earlier today on this track. CarlJr being able to pump out 2:06.8, and Scrapie and Mudda, so far we've seen 2:07 runs from them, but Mudda here is the world record holder. Scrapie not his best track, but currently it does not show. He's in first place after the full speed part, but the most decisive part of the track is near the ending. But it is, let's say, the two underdogs in this field that are taking the hold of this first round. Pack and CarlJr, the clear favorites, have been first to advance all rounds so far. Now we'll see if they can do it in the top 4. Through the grass turn we go, and we're coming towards the identity. This ice uphill and downhill. The players will try to turn their car around sideways, slide the car to the side and go down. Pack going very high up on the ice, but look at the speed it nets him. Secures second place here if he can make it through. No, he clips the flag straight into it, and we have the first Yep flag on camera of the day. Pack going out on the first round of Slalom here, but 3 players remain, and it's a close race between Mudda, CarlJr, and Scrapie.
The backflip style points are only going to be a meager consolation for Pack here in this opening round, and so far it is Mudda taking the lead with a 1/10.5 of a gap to Scrapie, and currently battling with CarlJr for second position, heading into the dirt right now. Coming up to the first slalom, let's see if there's any mistakes here. The entry seems to be good for all drivers who make it through the first round onto the reactor boost part, where you can actually easily go off the track, and it's the case for CarlJr, going too far down the inside, hitting the wall, and that's going to be done for the Canadian on this round. Now moving on to Mudda in the final part of the identity, but he clips on the transition of the grass block, allowing Scrapie through before the final ice parts. And Scrapie gets a little bit of a grip loss on the way in, but he's going to be able to win the round, both conventionally and with the win by KO scenario, as a matter of fact. And yes, Scrapie gets it before even reaching the finish line, and he will be the first one on the way to get a map point on the board.
And somehow Scrapie's just run away with the first round in Slalom. Very unpredictable here, but I don't think he's complaining for a second. Curious to see if that will happen again, though. We are playing until someone wins the map here. So if someone wins the map, we're going on to the next map, but we're not just playing 3 rounds. We will play until we have a winner. Currently, CarlJr and Pack, who were on the back foot in the start of the first round, are now dead even with Scrapie and Mudda here into the second one. It's a much closer field as we jump into the dirt. You mentioned this first slalom part being the size of Geek, and we will see it now as they try to make their car just thread through there like a needle, close to every gate, just saving a few pixels on each side. That is all the space that they'll need to get their car through into the grass part. Now we go towards the identity. Very curious to see what will happen here. First round it was, and no mistakes apart from Pack going very high up. This time Mudda going very high up, but the speed is there to make the comeback happen. He is still in the fight. Scrapie falling very far behind here, though, compared to the other 3, 0.3 behind. And Pack and CarlJr are just in front of Mudda in top 3.
Yeah, Mudda managing to keep himself in the fight for the first place right now. Pack currently trying to make a run for freedom up front, currently trying to widen the gap. It's still within a 1/10 of CarlJr, though, so the battle is far from over yet. Both dugging on the inside of the grass part. CarlJr going really close to the edge of that grass road, almost clipping on the edge, clipping the left-hand side on the edge, but so far so good for the Canadian, keeping the fight with Pack at a level playing field. Moving on to the reactive boost sector. Is there any mistake happening? No, this time CarlJr has learned his lesson from round number 1. As we're moving on to the final part, he got more speed at the exit than Pack, and he takes the lead, but for how long will he be able to take it as Mudda gets overtaken by Scrapie? Identity coming up right now for the most of the players right here, and it seems as though CarlJr versus Pack is going to be the battle coming up right here, and it will be CarlJr. Sorry for the perspective, but indeed CarlJr had more speed than Pack in here, and he will win with a 2:07.012, just above the 2:06s here. Pack in second place, and CarlJr moves into finalists.
Yeah, CarlJr taking one round there just ahead of Pack. The pace was not as fast as we have seen, but it is a joy to see 2:07.01 being driven as if it's nothing here, and Pack also answering with a 2:07.1. So both players really putting up great pace there, beating out both Mudda and Scrapie in that round. Mudda sliding out in the ending, not getting the grip that he needs. But he has another chance here. There still is time to do this on, but if Scrapie or CarlJr win this round, then they will get a point on the board, 1 of 2 needed to make it into the final 2, into the 1v1 match for the trophy. So it is now on Mudda and Pack to try to salvage this. And Pack, look at this line, look at this speed. He's just going to propel up into first place. And with that, go cruising ahead of the field. The grass turn, he goes high. It's not as optimal as he might have wanted. Scrapie with an inside line, getting a little bit closer, but up the ice we go. CarlJr coming into frame, coming around the corner and overtaking first place from Pack, but they are very close. Pack with more speed claims it right back, and this is going to be a very fast first lap, 1:05.09, and we are now on 2:06 pace in the top fight here. Very close between all 4 players.
Very close between all 4 players indeed. 3/10 between first and fourth right now. Currently, Thomas Cole from the United Kingdom currently holding the lead by around a 10.5 from CarlJr in first from CarlJr right now. And CarlJr clips on the inside, diving too low on the grass bar, and he's out of the race. He will not be able to get that map win right now, as currently Pack still holds the lead. Scrapie and Mudda battling for second position. Now onto the dirt slalom. Everybody managing to make it through. Now onto the reactive blue slalom for the perspective of the chaser. Scrapie from Lazarus. Currently looking solid from Pack, but he had to release a little bit here, forced to release to avoid touching the wall on the outside, so that allows Scrapie to reel him back in ever so slightly. Now coming up to the ice U-turn. Coming up to there, and Scrapie going a bit high, maybe a bit too high. He's currently in a challenge with Mudda for P2, and Pack is untouchable here. He will win again for this particular one, 2:07.022. Pack takes the finalist status to him. Scrapie second, Mudda third, and CarlJr in P4.
And Slalom is going the distance here. All players with 1 round on the board, except for Mudda so far. But if Mudda does it here, then we will have a sudden death, where the player who wins that final round will take a point here. So it's coming closer to being a decisive result on Slalom. A very important round now. Scrapie's had 2 chances at closing this out. Has not managed so far, but it is not his best map, and there he goes off the wall ride and onto the spectator seat now to watch the others fight it out. Mudda versus CarlJr versus Pack is the remaining battle to see who might take this round. Scrapie now hoping for a save from Mudda to get 1 more chance at winning this. If not, we will have a decisive result. Pack and CarlJr up in top 2. Side by side they go. Across the reactor booster, through this turn, CarlJr pushing beautifully, getting a lot of speed there, and also having a better attack on this turn. Pack maybe with a little bit more speed. The ice turn is, of course, decisive. Let's see who gets the best. CarlJr sliding out, Mudda sliding out, and Pack will have a huge lead here into the second lap. Is it going to be a knockout win? It was 1.3 seconds on the checkpoint.
Mudda touches, and it could be a win by KO indeed.
He is getting close to it here, and that is 1 checkpoint. That is 2 for Pack now. 1 more to seal the deal, and Pack will win Slalom that he picked himself and get the first point out of 2 needed to go into the final 2.
First map win for Pack due to a win by KO scenario, and Pack will go 1-0-0-0 versus CarlJr, Scrapie, and Mudda. He is the man to draw first blood in this series as we move on to Bicycle, which is the map picked by CarlJr.
Yeah, Bicycle coming up. Scrapie is good on this. Mudda is good on this. And also CarlJr. We have, I'd say, the 3 premier players in the world on this track specifically, fighting it out now in a free-for-all battle. Pack also in the fight, of course. Let's not forget, he has not advanced yet. He needs 1 more win. But this is going to be very interesting now. We are just live right off the bat, no warm-up. Here we go on Bicycle, starting off to see if the players will make it past that tree jump. Coming up right after this turn, player's going to try to go in a small gap between the trees. Paying very close attention because it is a tight jump. They all got it here. CarlJr a little bit behind the others. 0.3. He usually drops a little bit of time in the start here, and this Pack off to a big lead here on Bicycle. Third part now coming up. Looks like Scrapie got the best of that one. Getting a little bit closer to Pack, but this jump is also very important. Building up speed towards the ending. You want to land as far to the right as possible, and Mudda here with great speed, Scrapie with great speed, CarlJr as well. But despite getting great speed, there's just one Englishman cruising far ahead, and that is Pack, who's off to a monster lap here, it seems. No mistakes so far. Very beautiful driving. And he will be 0.2 ahead of everyone else in the second turnaround. Gets good speed, and that is a great start to the second lap. Now Pack in the lead. Already 1 point on the board. He could just be one round away if he wins this one from going into the finals.
111.151 the opening lap, but he's not alone this time around. He's got a fellow friend to play against. He's got Scrapie right now, who came back after a good freewheel part, and he's moved up into the lead, and Pack had dropped a bit of ground after the freewheel part. As a matter of fact, he gets reeled in by his arch nemesis CarlJr, who currently is battling for P2, right with Thomas Cole, as Mudda is a bit further down in the ranking. He's dropped out of the picture for the battle for the lead, but Scrapie, with a bit of an unorthodox entry into the dirt part, he dropped a bit of momentum in there, a bit of the gap to Pack and CarlJr. Now the top three are neck and neck. Now we're heading into the jump. People are going safely here, and Pack touches the CP. That's done for the map currently leading the series, and it is CarlJr versus Pack. The map picker versus the one where the map can actually be in his favor. The world record holder on bicycle versus the map picker is going on now for the identity, and it is currently CarlJr going for first place. He's got a bit of a gap. Will that second turnaround be yielding Scrapie any more speed? No. CarlJr wins with a 2:18.887. Scrapie second, Mudda third, and Pack has retired since he was not able to make it to the finish. 107.465 at the end for the fastest lap, and CarlJr is one round away from getting a map on the board.
And what a time by Carl, 2:18.8. Considering that Pack was now 0.2 ahead of that again, Pack was on clear world record pace leading up to the crash that he had. So absolutely crazy performance by him regardless. The pace he's showing is incredible right now. Really, really finals-worthy stuff. But he still has to win the rounds. He cannot afford to fail at the tail end of the lap like that. So another chance now, but CarlJr is just one round away from winning on his map pick here. Bicycle definitely is a good choice for him, making it work and really showing the pace, but he also has to try to beat Thomas Cole, Pack, playing for Molotovs and Marshmallows here, and playing better than we've ever seen him play, honestly. This is Pack at another level! Ooh. Caster's Curse coming through, never mind. Pack going into the tree, taking a little break right now and letting the others play. But CarlJr could close this out. Only Mudda in his way, as Scrapie also failed the tree jump. So it is a 1 versus 1 showdown. Mudda versus CarlJr, the most experienced player in this league versus the least experienced, if we could say that. Mudda here in his first season. CarlJr, the two-time back-to-back champion, but Mudda giving him a run for his money here, overtaking Carl into the second lap. And let's see what happens here.
A bit of a wide line in the first two turns from CarlJr. Sees Mudda with a much tidier line move through into the lead of the race, and currently getting denied by the Australian right now, heading into the second part of the map as we're moving through the sign turn. As he saw the mistakes of Pack and Scrapie have yielded them down outside the 10-second range. They will not finish the race as we're heading onto the dirt. Mudda with a bit of a clip on the apex, a bit of air time that's going to give a bit of an advantage to CarlJr, allowing him to reel the Australian in. Now into the second jump. They go not too close to the tree, not brushing the leaves exactly on the way in, but still going decently on the right-hand side as we're moving on to the reactor boost, green grass parts, and the identity coming up. So far, it could go either way depending on how the U-turns go, and so far it is advantage to the reigning champion. Carl having a gap of around 0.08 of a second, but Mudda could try to pull something special, but no, more speed for Carl, and he will win in one fell swoop. He will win on bicycle and go on one map just like Pack.
And what an effective map pick that is. He comes in, he wins 2 rounds, and he is 1 point up. It is looking right now like the battle everyone anticipated. CarlJr versus Pack in the finals, but now we're going on to the map pick of Mudda, which is Arctic Split. And on Arctic Split, anything could happen. This is the most technically demanding map in the map pack, as you have to go in between those pillars and also cross this first ice turn very elegantly. To save time, we're going right into it, so pay close attention right now. Pack has started late into this race. Was not prepared and sliding out. We will have a restart. Okay. He was not ready for that. Restart coming through. Now we are live. So pay very close attention to this ice slide. If anyone drops the gear, looks like they all hold it here. And that is a very close start to the race. 10.3 checkpoint. Very well done by the players. We're going to try to keep the gear of the car here. Pack and Mudda. Looks like they got it. Scrapie losing a bit of ground to them, though, as he did not. And it's already up to a 0.10 advantage. Remember, this is Mudda's map choice, but he is slowing down a little bit here. Down into the midfield. Pack showing no signs of slowing down. And I think we're going to see the risky jump coming in now. They're going to go all the way out to the left here. Nobody actually doing it. Mudda crashing the pole. CarlJr is now up to third place. Mudda failing in the first round on his own choice. Pack going so close to the wall. It's incredible how they're navigating this track beautifully with the pixels on the right side of their car. Up to the identity we go now. The first jump, they have to go in between the pillars 3 times in a row. Scrapie and Pack side by side as they're going into it.
Pack and Scrapie as well!
Scrapie both failing it. And CarlJr has been given a free round, it seems, as Scrapie is within distance, though only 1 second behind. Could maybe still do something. But if Carls wins this, he is just 1 round away from going into the finals.
Now no more mistakes can be afforded by Scrapie. He is the one currently safeguarding the win by KO. He's trying to reel in the Canadian. He's around a second down on him. A single mistake that, and it could be done, and the win by KO scenario could trigger. But so far, yeah, CarlJr getting handed the round lead on a silver plate right here. This could put him on a final 2 round next round, as he already has 1 lap on the board. Jumping over the tree goes Scrapie right here, trying to catch up to the Canadian, and so far it's reeling him in, but not by much. You can see the gap is still around 7 to 8 tenths of a second, heading towards the identity now. Wall ride coming up for both players, navigating it perfectly. Now moving on to the identity right now. First jump coming through, landing perfect for CarlJr and Scrapie. Second jump coming in for both the leaders. Who will falter? Nobody faltering. Everybody getting the landing nicely here. And third and final jump, CarlJr will make it through, and it will be finalist round and final 2 rounds coming up for CarlJr, who takes the round ahead of Scrapie. Mudda finishing, and Pack out of the zone, so he's going to be a DNF.
Yeah, but Scrapie also showing signs of life here. He was over a second behind after that mistake, after crashing the pole. Managed to make it only a 0.4 deficit. Pay very close attention to the first turn again. A lot can be decided here. They're all going to keep the gear. Pack sliding out a little bit, though. You can see he falls down to 4th place. 0.3 behind already. That turn is very decisive, because now Pack has a comeback mission to do if he wants to try to deny CarlJr the first final spot. Mudda and Scrapie also making sure that, though, that they stay ahead. And Mudda, most importantly, has to try to perform on his map choice here. Here we go for the jump. Will anyone fancy the jump all the way to the left of the pillar? No, they will not. Everyone going to the right. Pack is falling further and further behind. 0.6 behind everyone. But the other 3 players are close. So it is coming down to the identity once again. The pillar jumps. High level of precision has to be seen now by Mudda. Cannot afford to fail another round here on this track. But he saw it out specifically because it is one of his best tracks. Scrapie with a perfect line, followed by CarlJr and Mudda. Close behind. CarlJr, almost a mistake, has to release to salvage his own line. Scrapie and Mudda with 2 perfect jumps. Mudda hitting the pillar, and Mudda is dropping out now. Scrapie the only thing standing between CarlJr and the finals.
Only thing standing between him and the finals, indeed. Currently, Scrapie having a 6-tenth advantage over CarlJr. Mudda having faltered at the final checkpoint. The final jump has cost him dearly. He was in the battle for the lead. Now he's down in last place without any hope of recovery so far. And now Scrapie just has one task. Bring it home. Bring this one over the line. He's still in here until the fat lady sings, as someone would say. And he needs to deliver the goods now, yet more than ever, as Scrapie clips a little bit at the top of that wall ride right here on the U-turn. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, not enough to warrant a win by KO scenario. Pack having a DNF as well, making a mistake just behind CarlJr. So yeah, it might be just a 1-horse race, or maybe a 2-horse race if there's a mistake from Scrapie. Coming up to the identity right now. First jump following the perspective of the chaser. CarlJr, Scrapie, first jump done. Maybe losing a bit of ground here, but not too much to worry about. Second jump coming up. Nicely done by Scrapie. Again, losing a bit of ground. 4/10 of a second for Scrapie versus CarlJr. Third and final jump, and Scrapie will take the round and deny CarlJr. That's round win that he needed. CarlJr second, Mudda finishing in P3, DNF. for Pack. 1-1 in this map for Scrapie and CarlJr. Both are in finalists.
And CarlJr made that very exciting near the end. Scrapie managing to hold on just barely. Scrapie now finalist, also just one round away from taking a map here and putting himself at a tie game with Solary CarlJr and Eminem Pack. But this time, Pack is no longer 0.3 behind on the start. In fact, he's leading the race, and this is the start that he was looking for earlier. Now able to control the pace and much more. Doesn't have to take these needless risks to catch up to the other players. He is just level, just where he wants to be in front of everyone. As we're going into the dirt part, this turnaround, they have to try to build the speed that they need for this long platform part, and I think Scrapie has the best speed out of everyone. CarlJr with an inside line will remain ahead, but Scrapie advancing up to P2 here through the drift. Let's see who gets the best speed down the hill. It looks like Pack. Scrapie with a very awkward line going across the penalty grass, dropping very far behind the others here. 3 players in contention for the first place into the second lap. CarlJr leading the race. Pack and Mudda close behind, but was that a mistake from Pack?
Yes, it was.
He did touch the pillar, and Mudda and CarlJr are now tied up. But more than anything, it is once again a 1 versus 1 here, where CarlJr is just that one round away from the finals.
Yes, indeed, and yet again, he could end up being denied by another non-finalist. This one, it is Mudda, currently 2.5 tenths, a quarter of a second, I like to say, in front of CarlJr in P2. Scrapie a bit further down, 4 tenths down, precisely on the Canadian. Currently trying to bide his time, potentially trying to reel some people in, maybe taking advantage of a mistake from the front runners. Mudda slowing down before the U-turn, and currently it looks like to be a game-on battle between the two, both going for the safe strat. Same for Scrapie here, who catches up a little bit. You said he had the fastest exit speed out of everyone in the first lap. It might have been the case also on this second lap. He's currently around 4 tenths down on the leader. Still CarlJr, who managed to make the move stick on Mudda at the exit of that particular part. Identity just left to go. It could be the first of your finalists coming up right here. First jump for CarlJr. Nice landing. Same for Mudda. Scrapie a bit further behind in P3. Second jump coming up. CarlJr slowing down. Scrapie touching the pole. It's game over for Scrapie. CarlJr third and final jump. Will he be able to keep enough gain?
Mudda!
Oh my god, the slide from Mudda potentially. No! For 200s, CarlJr moves through to the final 2. He will be your first finalist by winning on Arctic Split and Bicycle.
Oh my god, Mudda made that so close, right up until the finish line. But CarlJr has the margins on his side, drives a great run there, twice on Arctic Split. And with that, he's now the first of 2 finalists. We are going on to reversing. This is Scrapie's map choice. This is when he has to make a comeback and try to beat out Pack and Mudda for that final spot to face off against CarlJr.
Reversing by TOMSEN is going to be your next map as we're getting underway right here, right now. You can see on the left-hand side, CarlJr already qualified. 3 players are left to battle it out for the final spot, Pack already has 1 map win, so he just needs to win 1 more map. And this map, remember, is where he has the perfect reverse strat. So this could be playing into the hands of Thomas right here in this particular instance.
Yeah, let's not forget, this map usually comes down to the ending. And what we've seen today is that both Pack and CarlJr have this full grip downhill strategy that we saw first being used in the top 8 to a great effect. So that is something that they can use. Has Scrapie had time to practice this? I doubt it. I think he's going to stick with his conventional approach right now. In first place, Pack really close behind though. Pack only 2 rounds away from the finals himself, whereas Scrapie needs to win 1 map and then 1 more. So first round here on the Identity, we are going to see players driving backwards and then turning the car around on the ice. But pay attention to Pack here as he goes wide together with Scrapie and turns around late, going on the corner there, and with that overtaking the first place, putting himself now in a great position, especially with the strat coming up later up. This could be a round for Pack.
105.0 at the opening lap, and still the battle rages with Scrapie. Mudda, the third man in this, is a bit out of the picture. Currently 3 tenths down on the battle for the lead. Pack currently getting maybe a little bit behind, still keeping around a tenth of a gap between himself and Scrapie, keeping a bit of distance in here. It's not social distancing because the gap is about to close up any minute, but it's still a little bit of distance, maybe biding his time a little bit before getting really sending it onto the final part of the map with the Identity coming up in a few seconds.
Yeah, the identity is coming up now, and as we know, Pack has the upper hand here. He has the advantage with the strat. Scrappy's gonna have to send it all on this jump right now as he turns his car around, tries to land and keep good speed here. Let's see who gets it. Mudda might even be the second place player. It's all in Pack's hands here. He could be one round away as Mudda falters. This is Pack's opportunity. He goes backwards, but he goes wide. He cannot keep the full grip. Scrappy's crashing. Pack makes it on through. One round away from the TMGL finals to face off against CarlJr here.
And now, no mistakes from the two other contenders. Scrapie and Mudda have to be on point. Mudda faltered at the end of the second lap here on this round. Scrapie faltered at the reverse part.
Yeah, Scrapie and Mudda, this is do or die right now. If they don't beat Pack, they are out of the tournament. They have to deny him here for their own survival. Both Scrapie and Pack jumping there. Mudda going for a wider approach, building up more speed now towards the grass, and will be able to catch the Pack in this grass part. But Scrapie is pushing ahead right now. He is sending it all. He wants to stay in this tournament on his own map choice and realizes that he has to go faster to make that a reality. Trying his best right now as he is 0.1 ahead of Pack, who's slowly catching up, getting each turn just a little bit better. Refinements coming through in each part here from Pack to slowly but surely try to catch up to Scrapie, and you can see that it is working here. The gap is shrinking ever so slightly, 0.14 of a second now, as they jump up into the backwards part. The first time they are going to turn around. Let's see who can get the best speed. Well, there comes Pack, right up and past Scrapie, and now on the ice turnaround with a slightly better line. He could take over first place here quite dominantly. Mudda is half a second behind. Scrapie is the only one in range to deny Pack here. This could be the decisive round. Will Pack move through, or is Scrapie going to be able to defend this one in the final lap here on reversing?
Good opening lap as well, a 104.742 here for Pack here. And also a really good U-turn, a good J-turn, should I say, from Pack. Not getting any sideways momentum, dropping him a lot of forward speed, and so far currently holding the lead. But you can see Scrapie harassing him at every single corner possible. Mudda, meanwhile, is completely out of the running. You can see him 1 second behind the top two fights. Currently, Pack leading by around a tenth of a second compared to Scrapie, with the identity coming up right now. Who's going to take a bit more bubble on the way in? Both take a similar amount of bubble on the way in, sorry. Meanwhile, oh no, Pack clips at the ending. He clips a little bit at the ramp, and that's going to give Scrapie the round lead. And he also has barely enough to actually move on to the past the reverse booster, and Scrapie could win by KO here. He's going to reach the finish line, and that's it for Scrapie, who takes the round win due to a mistake by Pack at the identity. And now we're onto a 1 versus 1 between Scrapie and Pack. Scrapie trying to keep the dream going just a little bit longer of reaching the finals, whilst Pack seeks to end it as soon as possible.
But the threat is still there. Pack still just one round away. Scrapie has to win now, or has to rely on Mudda to win. If he makes a mistake, it's still all or nothing right now, as Scrapie and Pack are finals mode. Really well played by Scrapie though to send that round home. Despite Pack being ahead, he made the mistake on the identity, and they are driving at such a high level now, just going so close to the corners where mistakes can still happen. They are human and mortal after all, despite looking like robots right now on the track, driving extremely optimal racing lines, back to back to back, round after round. Scrapie and Pack here up ahead, Mudda a little bit behind, 0.2 of a second. Pack making the mistake, and it will not be decided yet because Pack does not have the sufficient speed to make the jump up onto the backwards part. So unless there is a full collapse between Scrapie and Mudda, this will not be the final round of the match. Will it be Scrapie who defends himself here, gets a point, and goes in to one match away from winning, or will it be Mudda here who gets his first round and puts everything into a sudden death last round on reversing?
Mudda is certainly looking to put things into this particular perspective. Pack completely out of the running with just 3 seconds, with around over 3 seconds of a gap to the leaders right now. Mudda going really close on the inside of the bank dirt corner now, moving on to the second banking, and Mudda keeps a lead of around a 1/10.5 to 2/10, moving on to the turn with the poles. Mudda going really close, Scrapie going closer as well to the poles. Now moving on to the jump to the banked dirt right here before the identity coming up in a few seconds. Mudda still having a gap of 2/10 to Scrapie, but Scrapie can try to potentially catch a bit in the identity coming up right now. Here we go for the jump. Is there going to be a bit of rotation from from one of the players? Yes, it is indeed Mudda taking a bit of rotation on the way in, keeping a bit of the lead. Right now coming up to the U-turn and the reverse part. Scrapie going a bit wide. Mudda going for the J-turn. It's going to give the opportunity for Scrapie to overtake him, and it's going to be the snipe for 0.08 of a second. Scrapie takes the win on reversing and moves on one lap as well. And now we have a fight on our hands for the final spot in the final two.
Yeah, Scrapie daring to risk it all there when it matters most. He gets a point. This is far from over. We're going on to Frozen Fridges, which could be the decisive map here. Frozen Fridges. And let us remind the audience that Pack here did set a world record just before the match, a 2:12:01, where a normal match time from the best players is usually 2:13. So 2:12:01 is what Pack is capable of here when he plays at his peak performance. So far today has been playing out of his mind, and if he can deliver some of that, will any of the others here be able to keep up? This is one of the fastest paced maps in the competition. We usually don't see big gaps here at all. It's going to be a close race all the way until the finish line unless they make some big mistakes. Mudda off to an early lead ahead of the two others, Pack dropping down just a little bit, a tenth behind the others into the round now. We're going on to the sausage block turn. Pay attention to Mudda here as he likes to go for a wider line. Let's see if he goes for it. Yeah, goes all the way out on the left there and then pushes for speed because they go across this engine off block where the extra speed does pay off and gives him a speed advantage into the ending part of the map. He's going to propel ahead of the two others into the identity. The identity on this map is the turnarounds on the ice. First turnaround, Mudda and Scrapie beautifully executed. They turn around just as they collect the checkpoint up on the wall there. But if you go too early, then you lose it all here. This is very important that they get it clean. And Scrapie is in second place, just out of Pack, about to be overtaken though. Pack with a lot of speed. But Mudda off to the best start here. A 1:08.1 first lap. And this is a fast round.
This is looking to be pretty fast indeed in terms of lap time. Now we're just going to be seeing, Pack touching on the inside of the dirt corner, and one of the main contenders is out of this round right now. Scrapie is around 2 to 3/10 down on Mudda heading into the second half of the map. The Australian driver from Edelweiss Esports is looking to hold the lead pretty convincingly here, heading up to the dirt part. Right now, Scrapie cannot really do much about it at this stage. Let's see if he's able to pull off something. Mudda going a bit wide, Scrapie going for the inside line, but the speed benefit from Mudda's line is going to pay off all the way down to the checkpoint before the identity. 4/10 of a gap between Mudda and Scrapie. First U-turn done. Now coming up to the second U-turn. Watch out to not go too early in, to go too low and miss the checkpoint. So far, both are passing the checkpoint pretty nicely here. Mudda should have enough of a gap to warrant that unless a much better exit speed from Scrapie comes in, but it will not be the case. And Mudda should be able to get this one home. And yes, he will take the round win on the Frozen Fridges, the first round win with a 2:12.965. Around 1 second away from the world record, 1:04.880 at the end for the fastest lap for Mudda.
And what a match we're having right now. CarlJr getting 2 maps, Pack having 1 map, Scrapie having 1 map, and Mudda taking the first round on the final map here. The 5th map that we have not seen. If he wins this one, then we're going back to the side on Slalom. So very interesting here right now. But they could go the distance in this top 4 match. Scrapie hitting the wall here though. It is Mudda versus Pack in a 1v1 match. And if Mudda wins, we're going to the last map. If Pack wins, he's just 1 round away from going into the final versus CarlJr. Let's see here now if the wide line from Mudda is going to pay off. He does not have the space he wants to go for it, so can't really push for too much speed. But he should be able to catch up with Pack here by a little bit. Going down the hill and going up towards the identity. This speed is propelling all the way up towards the wall, and he makes it a dead even race here. First turn around. Now these are going to be very, very important. Do you go high for speed, or do you just barely touch a checkpoint and then go down? It looks like both are going for the earliest possible line here. On the turnaround, the last one, Mudda going a bit higher for the speed. Pack going down early, and Pack missing the checkpoint. Mudda is going to win the last map here, and we're going on to Slalom to decide it all. It looks like the only outcome. There we have it. Mudda wins Frozen Fridges 2-0, and it's all coming down to Slalom.
Oh my goodness, what happened here? I saw from my perspective the name tag of Pack disappear in the blink of an eye, and this is where I noticed that there might be some big trouble. And as soon as I saw the win by KO as well, I was like, oh, this is over. And we're now moving back to the decider that is, of course, SLALOM by Nadeo. And there could be some people where this could be the bane of their existence. I'm talking about a certain man from Belgium here that probably despises this map's existence.
Indeed, but all the predictions can be thrown out the window now because there are 3 world-class players here, and there is just 2 rounds to go between you and the finals of the tournament. Pack, Scrapie, and Mudda facing off now in some of the most important matches in their Trackmania careers. These are going to be so decisive. Scrapie, not a big fan of this. Pack is a monster on this track, but has not really been able to step up to that performance that we've seen in the earlier matches. In these last rounds, he has been making mistakes, has been driving sloppily, it has to be said. Mudda, though, probably feeling the momentum right now. He did get a map win. Can he get a 1-round win here and be 1 round away from getting into the finals in his first Trackmania Grand League season? Would be a very big upset. We're going into the first lap and the first identity of SLALOM right now. Pack and Scrapie tied for the lead. Mudda a little bit behind. Here we go up the ice wall. Turning around. Very important. Scrapie keeping the grip, but having lower speed than his opponents. Pack overtaking first. Mudda in second here with more speed than Pack to try to make it a tie race. It's a 105.3 opening lap, and nothing is decided yet. This is going to come right down to the wire.
This is a really close call right now. All 3 of these people deserve a spot in the final 2 versus CarlJr. You can see by the scoreboard on the top of your screen. It's going to be coming down to who is the most resilient, who can set the most consistent lap times, who is going to be the best one in the face of adversity right here. And right now, Pack has the lead of the proceedings with a gap of less than a tenth to third place still, so it's still a really, really close race. First slalom on through the dirt. Now moving on to the reactor boost part. We've seen some people fall at this precise part right here, and Scrapie has lost a lot of momentum, so he's going to drop back out of this battle for the lead, at least in the meantime. Now moving up to the final part, the ice U-turn and the final slalom on the ice. Coming up to the U-turn now. Bit of a late turn in for Pack. Mudda slides off. Scrapie moving through the P2, but it will not be enough to catch up to Pack. He will be able to safeguard that finish and take the win right here with a 207.155 at the end of the 2-lapper. Scrapie second and Mudda third. And he is 1 round win away and 1 map win away from facing off against CarlJr.
Pack is on match point here now for the second time. On reversing, he got denied by Scrapie and Mudda repeatedly. Now he has another chance, and this might be one of his last chances. If not, if he doesn't win here, someone else will be joining him on match point. That is how close it is. So Pack now 1 undisturbed round to try to close it out until he has company in the finalist mode. This is the decisive moments of this match right now. Who can join CarlJr in the finals to try to lift the trophy, to try to beat the Canadian who's won twice in a row? Pack dropping down a little bit here in the dirt, losing 0.2 to Scrapie, having to release and adapt his line into the reactor boost. This is going to be important. Pushing for speed right now in the uphill. They are all on the line, but Scrapie with even more speed than his opponent, extending the lead. Mudda dropping down a little bit, but pushing for speed into the grass turn, and we're going on to the ice. Scrapie in the lead on slalom, the most unlikely thing to see today. Into the ice turn we go. He keeps the grip. Mudda, though, getting a lot of speed here, about to catch up to Scrapie in that downhill, and at the lap change, Scrapie hits the flag. It is now a 1v1 match versus Pack and Mudda. Can Mudda deny here, or will Pack advance to the finals to meet CarlJr?
Can he keep the spectacle alive, the Australian? That's what we're going to be waiting to find out at the end of lap number 2 right here. Pack is on a mission. He's on a mission to join a fellow Canadian, named CarlJr, through to the final 2, but so far he's going to have a lot to work for here because Mudda still has a gap of 2/10 heading into the dirt in the first slalom on the dirt right here, so it's going to be really, really intense up until the end. Fellow Canadian, I meant fellow competitor from Canada, that's what I meant. So far Mudda has lost a lot of speed in the reactor boost whilst we were actually talking about that, and he gets overtaken by Pack for the lead before the identity coming up. Right now, coming up to the last parts. Here we go for the U-turn. Pack's lining up, getting a bit more speed at the ending. Who's going to get the best part of this slalom? Oh, it's looking a bit...
Mudda with more speed!
Mudda with more speed! Oh no, the flag! And Pack joins CarlJr. in the final 2.
Oh, valiantly fought by Mudda, but he just barely hits the flag and goes flying out of the top 4 match. It is the match that we all expected, we all anticipated, and now we can all look forward to it. It is CarlJr. versus Pack in the finals.